I walked into my own living room and saw a strange woman wearing my husband's favorite shirt while my mother-in-law poured her tea. That's when I realized he wasn't just cheating, he was replacing me while I watched. This is African Folktales with Nsinem. Listen to Ima's story. Ima was a very beautiful and kind lady, but one thing people didn't know was that her kindness had a limit. Ima and Eze started their romance right after college. Eze got a job as a surgeon at a hospital in Lagos connected to an oil and gas company. He was well paid, while Ima got a job as an architect at a construction company in Abuja. After their wedding, Ima took in immediately and gave birth to a beautiful daughter. Eze asked her to resign from her job and relocate to Lagos so that they could raise their child together. And Ima agreed. Eze was earning much more than she was, and it seemed like a good idea at the time. But a year after, Ima took in again, and this time the pregnancy was a complicated one, and the birthing process was even worse. Ima gave birth to a set of twins, 2 beautiful girls. The doctor advised the new parents to put off childbirth for a while because it was a close shave with death the last time, and that was the passport Eze needed to misbehave. At first it was subtle. Few lipstick stains here and there, occasionally not sleeping at home with work as his excuse. Then the late calls started. Ima knew without a shred of doubt that her beloved husband was cheating. Ima became very worried about it. She had never suspected that Eze would ever betray her. They were so much in love. Childbirth and being a stay-at-home mom had changed Ima from the sexy young corporate lady to something else. Not that she was no longer beautiful, but she wasn't just feeling beautiful. Eze complained about her weight, and slowly and surely, he stopped being intimate with her. One day, Ima went grocery shopping and returned to see an unknown woman in her sitting room. Her mother-in-law was sitting with her, and the pair were chatting away like old friends. Ima greeted them and went into the house. She was surprised to see Eze dressing up to go out. Ima asked him who it was, and he simply replied that the lady was a guest. Not long after, Eze, the lady, and his mother all went out together. The phone calls to Eze's phone at strange hours continued, and it made Ima suspicious when Eze would have to leave the room to take the calls. One day, Eze's phone rang while he was in the bathroom, and Ima picked up the call. A young lady's voice came on the line. "Sweetheart, I am bored. I am tired of waiting in this hotel room for you. Can I go to the bar?" the lady asked. Ima dropped the phone on the bed as tears came to her eyes. Eze walked in from the bathroom and went straight to his phone. "I thought I heard my phone ring," he asked. Ima didn't respond. Eze picked his phone up. Ima knew Eze was going to see that she had picked his call. "You're stepping out of line here. What reason do you have to pick my call? Do I take your own calls?" Eze asked, furious. Ima didn't respond. She sat on the bed and asked him a single question. "Eze, so you now take women to hotel rooms?" Eze didn't respond. He simply dressed up and left the house. Ima felt trapped. She looked at her options. She had left the labor market for 8 good years. She didn't have a way of supporting herself should she leave him. Lagos was expensive. 3 children were expensive. And the painful truth was that Eze knew it. That night, Ima did not sleep. She lay awake on the bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to the ticking of the wall clock. Her mind replayed the girl's voice on the phone again and again. "Sweetheart, hotel room, board, bar." By morning, her eyes were swollen. Still, she woke up before everyone else, prepared breakfast, bathed the twins, and got their elder sister ready for school. When Eze returned later that afternoon, he acted like nothing had happened. He ate, showered, and went straight to bed. No apology, no explanation, not even guilt. From that day on, the disrespect grew bolder. Eze no longer hid his phone. He laughed into it openly. Sometimes, while Ima was feeding their children, he would walk past her,
talking sweetly to someone on the phone, his voice low and playful, the same voice he hadn't used on her in years. His mother noticed everything and said nothing. In fact, she began to change toward Ima. Little comments here and there. You women of nowadays don't know how to keep your husbands. If you had given him a son, maybe all this wouldn't be happening. Men have needs, Ima. Don't drive him outside. Each word landed like a slap. One afternoon, Ima overheard her mother-in-law on the phone in the kitchen. She's too quiet, the old woman said. But don't worry, she won't go anywhere. Where will she go to with 3 girls and no job? Ima stood frozen behind the door. That was when she realized something chilling. They were not just cheating on her. They were counting on her weakness. Weeks later, the unknown woman returned. This time, she didn't sit like a guest. She sat like someone who already belonged. Her legs were crossed. Her nails were long and painted red. She was wearing one of Eze's shirts, the one Ima bought him on their 3rd wedding anniversary. I'm Chinaza, the woman said, smiling boldly. Eze didn't tell you I would be stopping by. Ima looked at Eze. He didn't look back. That was the moment something inside Ima shifted. Not rage, not tears, something colder. That night, as she rocked her twins to sleep, Ima made a silent decision. If she was trapped, then she would learn the house first before finding the door out. And if kindness truly had a limit, Eze was walking very fast toward it.
Then one afternoon, Ima woke up to find a woman cooking in her kitchen. Who are you? And what are you doing in my kitchen? Ima asked the strange lady. The lady didn't respond. Then Ima's mother-in-law, Esther, responded from the sitting room. She is my guest. Ima went back to her room. She suddenly felt unsafe in her own home. One night, Ima woke her husband up from sleep. We need to talk, Ima said to him. A very sleepy Eze responded. Can't it wait till morning? Ima told him it couldn't. Ima started by saying how lucky she was to have him as a husband. She thanked him for his love for her and the children. Then Ima zeroed in on the issue. She pointed out that she feels not having a son could be putting a strain on their marriage. Ima suggested they get a surrogate and also go for counseling in order to strengthen their relationship. She tried hard not to accuse him of anything. Eze simply went back to bed. He didn't say a word. The visits from different women continued, and at some point, they started coming with gifts for Ruth, Eze's mother. Ima began to feel lonely in her own home. She then decided to invite her younger sister to come spend some time with her. And that was when the drama started. When Ima's younger sister Kate arrived from Calabar, the house changed immediately. Kate was observant, too observant. She noticed the way different women walked in and out of the house as if it were a hotel lobby. She noticed how Ruth received gifts with pride, not shame. She noticed how Eze barely acknowledged his own wife unless food was ready or the children were crying. On the 3rd day of Kate's visit, she pulled Ima aside in the kitchen. Are you aware that a strange woman just walked into this house, opened the fridge, and took a bottle of water without asking? Kate asked quietly. Ima forced a smile. Yes, it happens. Kate stared at her. Does it also happen that your husband doesn't come home at night? Ima didn't answer. That silence told Kate everything. That evening, Chinaza came again. This time, she wasn't alone. She came with another woman. They laughed loudly in the sitting room, legs crossed, phones out, while Ruth sat with them, nodding like a proud hostess. One of the women even asked Ruth what she wanted for her birthday. I like gold, Ruth replied happily. Real gold. Kate walked into the sitting room and froze. Good evening, she said, her eyes moving slowly from one woman to the other, then to Ruth. Ruth frowned. And who is this? I'm Ima's sister, Kate replied calmly. The laughter stopped. Chinaza looked her up and down. Oh, family, she said, smiling.
Nice. That night, Kate didn't sleep. She heard whispers in the corridor, she heard laughter at midnight, she heard the front door open and close and open again. By morning, she confronted Emma. "This is not normal," Kate said firmly. "This is not marriage. This is not even cheating anymore. This is humiliation." Emma sat on the bed, folding the twins' clothes. "I know. So why are you still here?" Emma paused. "Because if I leave without a plan," she said quietly, "they will crush me." That was the first time Kate saw fear in her sister's eyes. That night, after everyone had gone to bed, Kate overheard a phone conversation. It was Ruth. "She's becoming uncomfortable," Ruth whispered. "But don't worry, she's weak. No money, no job, 3 girls. Kate's hands trembled.
Emma waited until Eze returned from work one afternoon. She had watched him on the phone, seen him laugh, seen him walk past their children like a stranger. Today, she had had enough. "Eze," she said, her voice calm but firm, "we need to talk." Eze barely looked up from his shoes. "Can it wait? I'm tired." "No," Emma said, stepping closer. "I've seen everything. The women that walk in and out of our house, the gifts your mother shamelessly receives from them, the way you treat me like I don't exist. Do you even realize how disrespectful this is? To me, to your children?" Eze laughed, a low, cruel sound. "Disrespectful? I do what I want. And if you don't like it," he paused, looking her in the eye, "you can leave. I'm not stopping you, but the children stay here. You didn't come here with them, so you won't live with them." Emma's heart sank, but her voice didn't waver. "When did you become so cruel? Do you really think I can't exist without you?" Eze shrugged. "Suit yourself." He turned and went to the kitchen, leaving her standing in the middle of the room, burning with quiet fury. In that moment, Emma realized something crucial. She needed a plan. She couldn't just walk out like that. But little did Eze and his mother know, a storm was coming, one that would sway everything in Emma's favor. Then one day, the tables flipped. Emma was in the market when Kate called her. "Come on, someone is beating up your mother-in-law," Kate said. Emma panicked and called her husband, but he didn't pick his phone. Emma sent a text telling him what Kate had told her before she drove home. She walked right into a lady beating Ruth with her shoe. Emma recognized the lady to be one of the many ladies that visited her mother-in-law, the lady she was sure was sleeping with her husband. "Emma, please help me," her mother-in-law screamed. "Emma, please call the police, help me," Ruth kept screaming. Kate tried helping by dragging the surprisingly stronger lady off Ruth, but the lady slapped Kate, and that sent Kate fleeing. The lady was obviously stronger. Emma walked quietly into her kitchen and dropped her groceries. She called out to her sister. Kate joined her in the kitchen. "Won't you help her?" Kate asked her sister. "At least call the police or your husband," Kate said. If you were Emma, what would you do? Let me know by dropping a comment. Reading your comment is the highlight of my day. Not long after, Eze drove in with a police van behind him. Emma watched as they came out, not long after, with a battered Ruth and the lady being escorted by the police. That evening, Eze came home. He didn't say anything about his mother, and Emma didn't ask. Kate told her the following day that Ruth was hospitalized and that the lady who had fought her was being detained at the police station. Days passed, and Eze didn't say a word to Emma about what happened, and Emma didn't ask either. A month later, Kate told her sister that she had asked her husband about his mother, and he had told her that Ruth was at one of her daughter's houses. She was still recovering from the beating. From what Kate heard that day, it seemed Ruth had been collecting money from different women and had promised both of them that they would all marry her son. They had both shown up to the house that day. One of them had stormed out, and the other had decided to beat the daylight out of her. But Emma had not started her own drama yet. She employed a nanny and started going to the gym. The result went instantaneous, but it helped Emma's self-esteem. 3 months later, Emma was completely reinvented. Her glow was back, and so was her confidence. Then she got a job.
She quietly moved out of their shared room and started a blog. It was just a place where she could share her thoughts, but it blew up so fast. Other women could relate to being ill-treated and overlooked by their spouses. One day, Ima came home to find Eze waiting in her room. Eze got on his knees and apologized for everything he had done. Ima told him that they would have to go for counseling and individual therapy. After a long process, they found love with each other again. But this time, it was different. Ima had evolved and was no longer willing to be ill-treated. It was either Eze stepped up and treated her right, or they went their separate ways. Eze stepped up, and even his mother later apologized to Ima. Eze and Ima later got a surrogate and had their son. Ima knew love without respect was a prison she would never return to, and she made sure she commanded Eze's respect by first respecting and loving herself. A warm shout-out goes to Susan, watching from Oyo State in Nigeria. Thank you for leaving a comment. It made my day. If you enjoyed this story, then I am sure you'll enjoy watching this story on your screen right now. See you there.